Glory to Jesus Christ, and welcome to St. Cyril and Methodius, Ukrainian Orthodox Church. I'm Father Gregory, the pastor. It's good to be with you this morning on Sunday, January 8th. I always have to double check the date. So I'm getting a little bit of an early start this morning because there's a lot going on today. After liturgy, we have to bless the church for theophany, and then we're going out to Lake Mendota. I think that's the lake we're going to bless the lake for theophany with Assumption Greek Orthodox Church and St. Ignatius Antiochian Orthodox Church here in town. So we're all looking forward to that. A little bit of a big Orthodox thing for us. And one of the reasons that we do this is, besides the fact, of course, that it's our obligation, we're called as Christians to bless creation, is that it also serves as a bit of a public witness, and hopefully will raise some awareness, some consciousness about the Orthodox Church in Mad City. But this got me thinking about something that I read earlier today in Rob Henderson's newsletter, and I've linked to Henderson's newsletter here in the description of the video to ask you to take a look at it, and I think you'll find it interesting. But one of the things that Henderson says is that we generally do not envy people their ethics or as I say here, their virtue, but in fact I think that's really not quite true. If it were true, then for example, virtue signaling would not be an issue. Now, we hear a great deal about virtue signaling these days, but it's not something that's particularly new, and it's not something which is particularly unique to one side of this political spectrum or the other. St. Augustine, for example, reflects on why it is he likes to go to the theater and see tragedies. And his response is because he wants to be seen as the kind of person, he says, that would weep at the suicide of Dido. He wants to be seen by others as having the right moral fiber, as someone who is moved by things which are tragic. He doesn't actually want to be moved by tragedy, and among other things, because if he's actually moved by tragedy, then he will have an obligation to do something about it. He just wants to be seen as the kind of person who would be moved by tragedy if there was anything tragic that he to be seen. So he was virtue signaling. But again, there was a moral norm that was common in his time, his culture, and he wanted to be seen as someone who saw that moral norm as important and as valuable in his own life, though he didn't want to actually go through the effort of acquiring that particular virtue of compassion. So we do envy the ethics of others. We do envy their moral stances, but what we typically don't do is put in the effort that is required to cultivate in ourselves that virtue. I want to be seen as good, but I don't want to actually put in the effort that moral goodness requires. And this, by the way, is not something which is unique to virtue. I might envy the rich, but I don't want to do the things that are required of me to become wealthy. I might envy those who are well educated or socially well connected, but again, I don't want to put in the work that these things require. It's so much easier for us, I think, to admire good things in other people without actually making the next step, which is working to acquire that goodness that we see in them. The reason we don't, Aristotle says, or maybe we find an explanation in Aristotle rather, is because we cultivate the wrong kinds of friendships, or rather, we only cultivate certain kinds of friendships, what he calls friendships of utility, friendships that help us get things done. We do not cultivate friendships of virtue, or those kinds of friendships that foster in us the pursuit of moral excellence. I like friends who help me get things done, but I don't want to have in my life the kinds of friends who challenge me to be a better person. But it's precisely this second kind of friendship which is at the heart of our life in Christ. God in Jesus Christ becomes our friend, and he becomes our friend to inspire us to become like him, to become virtuous people, become morally good individuals. And this is what should happen in the life of the church. We should inspire each other to pursue excellence, not only in morality, but in all areas of our life. And this is why we're going to go bless the lake later today, to inspire people to it, or at least to give people the idea that there is something else out there for human life than simply the day-to-day work of well, basically day-to-day work, that there you can aspire to something which is greater, which is the life of Christian virtue and holiness. How about you? What kind of friendships do you have? Do you envy the virtue of your friends and then allow that envy to move you to acquire virtue? I hope you do. I hope I do too. But if you're like me, you probably, fall down on that more often than not. Well, it is now 7:15 here in Mad City, and I've got to go get ready for liturgy and all the stuff we're going to do today. If you're here in Madison, why not come to St. Cyril and Methodius at 1020 Regent Street and, participate in liturgy with us and be with us as we bless the building and then go out and bless the lake later this afternoon at 1:30. If you're not here in Madison, well, maybe try to find an Orthodox church in your area and see what we're all about. Yesterday, by the way, on the old calendar was Christmas, so there should be some Christmas treats at some Orthodox churches. But for now, if you can, come to church. If you come to and visit an Orthodox church, attend liturgy with us either here or somewhere else. Okay, well, I've got to go. God bless everyone, and I hope you have a very good day. Bye-bye.